So, if the bomb that the Soviets tested in 1961 was dropped on the city today, what exactly would happen? And so, to kind of give you an idea, we're going to play with this little beautiful thing called Nuke Map. So, we're going to drop some nukes and it's going to be fun. Now, it'd be lame to pick Los Angeles, so we're going to pick your guys' hometown of none other than Lake Elsinore. So, here it is. We see the lake, we see Canyon Lake over here. There's the 74, let's see. Where's Steve Canyon? Temescal Canyon would be somewhere right in there. So we'll look at the casualties and we'll look at the radioactive fallout as well. So the first bomb that we're going to drop on Lake Elsinore, we're going to drop Little Boy. And this was the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, the first nuclear weapon ever used on people and throughout war. We're going to go ahead and detonate it. All right, so we got about 5,200 people that would be killed immediately, and estimated injuries you would see at about close to 8,000. So this little yellow right here would be like that fireball radius. So anybody that would be here, gone immediately, totally and completely dead. The heavy blast damage, that would be sort of in the red here. The green here would sort of be all the radiation damage, and then everything that you kind of see like in the gray, as well as like a little bit of the orange and thermal radiation, would really be second and third degree burns, as well as those buildings really being pulled apart and just completely destroyed. Now this, of course, is just Hiroshima, right? Little Boy. This was kind of the smaller of the bombs. Let's say we decided to drop the Tsar. Not the bomb that was tested, but the biggest bomb designed ever, and we went ahead and dropped that on Lake Elsinore. Here would be the damage. And you can see completely catastrophic. Nearly 900,000 people killed, over 4 million people injured. And of course, we know this is Southern California, so if you have a firebomb that was going to be dropped there, obviously we pick up fires pretty quickly, especially in our area. I mean, the damage would be much more than just a nuclear weapons being dropped. And of course, this is just in like Lake Elsinore. So let's say we decide to drop this in Los Angeles, where there are more people, and we decided to detonate this bomb. I mean, you're looking at millions of deaths and millions of injuries. And now you're starting to see why people were so freaked out, especially in the 50s and 60s of a nuclear war breaking out, because these were the bombs that they were looking at being dropped, right? That they weren't like some little tiny bombs where 20 people might get killed. You're talking about millions of people being killed, and you're also talking about millions more being affected by the radiation. I mean, it was just, like I said, going to be completely catastrophic, and people were really worried. So with that 1961 bomb that the Soviets created, the Tsar, right, the biggest bomb ever created, not what they tested, but what they created, were dropped on a city today. What exactly would that look like? Well, the radius of the fireball would decimate 2 square miles. So let's say we dropped that bomb on Temescal Canyon High School. Everyone at TC, gone, dead. I mean, you wouldn't even feel it, which would be nice to be quick and easy, but everybody would be completely gone. The immediate radiation would affect people within a 5-mile radius. Depending on their distance, there would be 50 to 90% mortality rate. So you're kind of like looking at going to, say, from Lake Street to probably Main Street. So anyone between Main Street and Lake Street more than likely would probably pass, right? That'd be sort of the immediate radiation effects. Within 8 miles, the air blast would demolish nearly all buildings, and the fatality count would be 100%. So again, if we're looking at Temescal Canyon as being our center point, anyone from probably to Indian Trail, probably to like Bundy Canyon, we'd be looking about there. Within 20 miles, there would be significant building collapse, universal injuries, and widespread fatalities. So probably going to where Winchester is in Temecula, and probably where Magnolia is, where I live in Corona. And of course, the thermal radiation, third-degree burns to all exposed skin within 48 miles, and a firestorm would absolutely be possible. So you're kind of looking at like towards like the Fallbrook, Escondido area, probably all the way to like the Victorville area, right? I mean, just the damage that the bomb would cause, it would just be, it would be horrific. So knowing all of this, imagine yourself in the 1950s. How would you have felt during an air raid drill? Normally I would get your guys' questions and opinions and things like that, but I can imagine that some of you would be scared because this was a real threat, right? This wasn't like a oh, it might happen, who knows? No, 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 no. This was a very real threat for people of a nuclear war breaking out. And what I'll talk about in my next lesson is there was almost a nuclear war that broke out between both the United States and the Soviet Union. And of course, this made people just completely terrified because they didn't know what was going to happen, and frankly, if it was going to be them. So there's nothing to really warn us against a nuclear threat, but this was created shortly after 9/11. So this was kind of like the terror threat levels. So like every day on the news, they'd be like, today we're like at a yellow level, or today we're at an orange, or today we're at a red level. And really after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, there was we were most of the time we were sort of at severe as well as highs, right? So every day it would be like, okay, we're on orange alert, and this was something that was created by the government. I think not even necessarily to kind of ease people's minds, maybe. Um, I would say I kind of compare it to what we see on the news today, with the COVID-19 pandemic, is you don't hear any good news. You don't hear about the people recovering. You just hear about people dying, and that we need to social distance and stuff like that. So I think sometimes the government creates things like that, maybe trying to calm people's fears, but also being like, hey, we can predict when these things are going to happen. But unfortunately, you can't. This Homeland Security Advisory System, it doesn't really exist anymore today. There's kind of a system that the Department of Homeland Security uses, but you don't really hear about it. And of course, one thing that people actually did throughout the 1950s was they would actually create nuclear fallout shelters because, again, there was this really big fear of a war breaking out. So sometimes you hear that somebody's like selling their home and that they have like a nuclear fallout shelter. So then people will just go to the home to see it, to see the shelter itself. So if you ever get a chance, I would totally recommend doing it. And as a matter of fact, I had a student last year whose uncle lives in Tennessee, and he goes, yeah, he has a fully equipped nuclear fallout shelter. It came with the house when he bought the property, and he's like, it's got running water, it's got food, it's completely stocked and ready to go. So I was like, you got to bring me pictures. He's like, well, my uncle's kind of private. And I was like, listen, we're not going to go to Tennessee to find where he is. Like, you got to give me pictures of this thing. But unfortunately, I never got it. But this idea of like nuclear fallout shelters, they definitely existed, and they definitely, whatchamacallit, are definitely still around even today. So with all this, what exactly is going to be your assignment? And I'll post this separately, so if you don't want to listen to me as I go over it, you certainly don't have to. So 3 days ago, nuclear war broke out around the world with massive attacks in all heavily populated areas. For the first 24 hours, radio broadcasts reported tremendous damage and loss of life in all areas, including the total annihilation of most of Earth's population. For the past 48 hours, there have been no broadcasts. Fortunately, the people listed below were able to reach a fallout shelter in time to take cover and survive the initial devastation. So we'll go over the people here. You must assume that those in the shelter are, as far as you know, the only survivors of the war. Here's the dilemma. There are 12 people in the fallout shelter, but there is not enough water and other supplies to keep them all alive until the atmosphere is safe. Excuse me. To survive, the people must stay inside the fallout shelter for at least 3 months. The problem is that if all of them stay in the shelter, all of them will starve to death or dehydrate. There are supplies enough to allow 7 of the 12 people to survive. Your task is to decide, based on the information given, which people will be allowed to remain and live, and which people will be required to leave the shelter and probably die. We will assume that those who are selected to leave will do so peacefully. At issue is the survival of humans on Earth. The bottom line is that if human beings are to repopulate the Earth, such repopulation will begin with those survivors chosen by you. Carefully evaluate all information about each of the 12 persons, consider their health, experiences, age, sex, and intelligence. Then decide which 7 will be allowed to stay in the shelter and which 5 must leave. On a separate sheet of paper, list the 7 people you would have survive and repopulate the Earth, stating your reasons for keeping them. Then list the 5 you would have leave the shelter and state the reasons for not keeping them. Typically, at this point, we would do this in class, and I'd put you in a group, so obviously that's not going to happen. For your assignment, you could do this. You could do it on a separate sheet of paper, take a picture of it, and send it to me, or you do have the option of, typing it up. It's totally and completely up to you. I am going to ask that you give me like a little bit of a detailed explanation, maybe like 2 to 3 sentences. And then these are your characters. So we have James Stanley, Janie Stanley, Wanda Bryce, Bill Waters, Michelle Patterson, Ray Wilson, Gerald Brown, Martha Gray, William Gray, Walter White, Marjorie Baylock, and Fred Frederick. Now, a couple things that you need to do when you definitely examine all the ages and things like that. If you notice the people with the same last names, right? So this here would be brother and sister. This here would be father and daughter. Now, for this assignment, we are going to assume stereotypical gender names. So, like James, without question, is going to be a male. And then Marjorie is a female, because I know sometimes people are like, Marjorie, what kind of name is that? But Marjorie, in this case, is going to be female. And then I think everyone else is self-explanatory. From those of you looking at Walter White, it's a inside joke or inside commentary for my Breaking Bad fans out there. But go ahead and examine the characters. Remember, you're keeping 7 alive, and you're going to end up killing 5 of them. And if you have any questions about this, please reach out to me. This is what you're doing at the beginning of this week. I'm going to post another lecture for Friday. Definitely make sure you look through the PowerPoint or listen to the lecture, because what I'm going to be going over, what that I have listed for Friday, is going to be very relevant to you for next week's assignment. So don't think you could just do this assignment and ignore everything else. And then, cancel. We'll come back to that. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Hope you guys are having a great time at home.